All right, welcome back to another week review for the BR Dynasty League. It is week 14, or just finished week 14, so we're now going into week 15. That is the end of the regular season. We're now diving into the playoffs. And for those of you who did not make the playoffs, do not worry. There's always next year, but there's also something that Sleeper does called a toilet bowl that you'll be partaking in. It is the loser moves on. So contrary to a normal bracket, the losing team goes to the next round. So pretty much, hopefully you win so that you don't proceed in this bracket. But yeah, let's get into it. First off, I have something I'm pretty excited to show y'all about, or show y'all, I guess. My Dynasty website is now live. So you can go check it out anytime you want. Excuse me. It's on brfantasy.onrender.com. So yeah, you start off. First off, let's look at it. Let's take a look real quick. The entry website, right here, you go on, you put in your Sleeper League ID, you log in, takes a couple seconds, generates all this information for you. So on the main page, you have up top in the middle, you have the standings. That's just your top five, a little snapshot of the standings, top five at this point in the season. Below that, you have the matchup preview for that week. So all the matchups that are going to happen that week, you have those with all the players, or with all the lineups, who they're going to be playing against, their projections, things like that. And like I said, like I mentioned earlier, the projections that these use are separate from Sleeper projections. So if you see some discrepancies, that's why. Then on the right hand side over here, we have every single team and their roster. So you can look through, you can see their picks, you can see the taxi squad, all those types of things. And then on the left, we have our league awards, which we've discussed previously: high single week, lowest single week, longest win streak, longest losing streak, most consistent, highest points by player. Yeah, so that's the dashboard. Then we go to the weekly hub. We see it has our weekly matchups, with on the left hand side we have all of our top scores for that week. And if that week hasn't happened yet, it's projections. And on the right hand side, we also have projections for the highest score, lowest score, closest game, and biggest blowout. You can go look at any given week. A little buggy, don't worry, but you can go look at any past week and see all the stats, all the scores, things like that. So here we are looking at week 14, and you can see all the games, who played, who performed. We also have the individual stats for a player. I don't have kickers and defenses on there yet, but we do have individual stats for all the skill positions. And then same with the left hand and right hand side, it has the actual highest score, lowest score, closest game, biggest blowout, and the top three at each position. Yeah, and then under something you'll notice that hasn't been there in previous weeks, under the player's name, we have the stats of the game, or I guess the status of the game. So final at Green Bay, score was 21-28. So this one they lost. But yeah, this one, also something I think is really cool about it is it updates for live games. So if a game is live, it'll show that there's a live game happen. The scores or the stats will also update live. So that's something I'm really excited about. Then we go to week 15. Like I said, we have the projections, or not projections, but projections, yes, but the game that they're scheduled to play. So right here we have Trey McBride. He's going up against Houston, and they're ranked number 3. This is a bad thing for Trey McBride because Houston's defense is really good, so they only give up the third lowest passing yards per game. So somebody like Trey McBride is going to be somewhat unfortunate for me to have to play in this game. And so now I have a trade calculator. It's I guess the value is more so based on this season and kind of more of a future outlook. It looks into some of their offensive situations, their usage rate, things like that, target share, carries per game, all those types of things. But obviously I'd like to flesh it out more. We have our overall rankings here, positional sorting, things like that, and you can add trades in it or add players on each side, and it will kind of see what is a fair trade, or if you're overpaying, underpaying in terms of production. Then we have team slide. This is just a positional strength analyzer basically, and then an overall team analyzer. So what it does is it looks at the average value for each position you have and compares that average value around the league. So for me, QB, I have pretty average in the value range. I'm ranked number 5 out of 10, so midway there. Running backs, I'm not super good. Quinshon Judkins is my best running back, and that's mainly because he's young and he gets just a bunch of carries, but his production hasn't really been there, so his value isn't very high. And then wide receiver and tight end, I have some pretty high wide receivers and pretty high tight ends. And you may be looking at this thinking, for example, CeeDee Lamb, YNC, wide receiver 6. That's because my value formula is mainly based on their production per game. It doesn't look at how many games they've missed, things like that. So in the games that he plays, he is averaging like 18 points, I think. So that's pretty high up there. He's not really, he's not living up to a wide receiver 6 level at this point in the season, but that's just because he's been injured a lot. So obviously there will be tweaks made to the formula and things will get fleshed out over time. But as of right now, I'm pretty happy with what it's at. Then we have the activity page. This shows all the waiver wire pickups, and it assigns a value to each of those. So it also shows trades. So if we filter out waivers, we can see trades, and it also assigns values to these trades as well. Whether or not you agree or disagree, that's up to you, but this is where I find the value at for some of these players and some of these trades. Next, we have injury overview. This is just been as per normal how it has been, and I don't know if I've showed this, but you can click on the name and it will actually search their name and pull up any relevant information to their injury. Obviously I'd like to get this associated to an actual link in the future, but until then, this is what it looks like. Next, we have the standings tab, and y'all have seen this many times. We have just regular standings, detailed stats, power rankings, playoff picture, and then on the right hand side we have best offense, best defense, hottest team, and coldest team. Lastly, we have a graphs page, and this just shows all the graphs of the stats that our teams have had throughout the season, and kind of helps you analyze and look at teams, see if they're kind of a boom bust team, things like that. And then right here, a radar comparison, we can compare two teams and see how they match up in kind of a head-to-head manner. So that pretty much does it for the website overview. So like I said, I'm really happy with where it's at right now. I think it's going to be a really fun thing to see if y'all use it. Let me know what y'all dislike or like, what changes y'all think could be made. That'd be really appreciated. But yeah, so now we're going to move into our recap of last week. So starting off, like I said, it's the end of the regular season. So this week has some really big playoff implications. Starting off, we have Caleb's Casting Couch, who took down Chef Seth. So this moved Caleb's Casting Couch to 7-7 and Chef Seth to 5-9. We had big games from Michael Wilson, Lamar Jackson, Harold Fannin, some pretty big games, and also Seahawks defense had a really big game. Next, we have Master Rage Baiter, the number 1 overall seed, takes down the number 2 overall seed, 139.14 to 122.78. This brings Master Rage Baiter to 11-3 on the season, and Wad Squad to 8-6. So this one had some big games from Jahmyr Gibbs, Jackson Smith and Jigba per usual, and then DK Metcalf had finally had a pretty big game. Then we have Hit the Saquon, who took down I Cook Brown Rice. Both teams are now 7-7. Big performances from Puka Nacua and Christian Watson, and also Brandon Aubrey, as he's been pretty crucial for I Cook Brown Rice all season. Then we have Team Dagirin, who beats Make America Great Again. Final score was 123.06 to 81.5. Never Jamar Chase Ho takes down Trust Fund QBs 129.64 to 117.04. So final score, or Josh Allen with a crazy game here, 37.8 points, and then T Higgins also 27 points. So pretty big scores here all around. Really, it was pretty cool to see some big names put up some big points. Yeah. And then if we look at our positional top three at QB, we had Trust Fund QB's quarterback Josh Allen put up 37.8. Matthew Stafford put up 23.2. Lamar Jackson put up 21.1. At running back, Jahmyr Gibbs put up 37. Master Rage Baiters running back Jahmyr Gibbs. And then Tony Pollard put up 28.1. RJ Harvey put up 22. At wide receiver, Caleb Couch, Michael Wilson put up 37.2. Puka Nacua put up 35.7. And JSN put up 28.1. At tight end, Chef Seth's Harold Fannin put up 25.4. Brock Bowers put up 14.6. And Dalton Kincaid put up 14.1. Brandon Aubrey from I Cook Brown Rice put up 24. Cameron Dicker put up 20. And Jake Elliott put up 16. And then Caleb Couch's Seahawks defense put up 21 points. Team Digerian's Eagles put up 16.5. And Houston Texans from Chef Seth put up 14.5. So this brings our high score this season, or this week, I guess, to Caleb Couch, who had 173.8 points, or 0.78 points. So I just rounded up right there. Lowest score was Make America Great Again with 81.5. The closest game was a 12.6 point difference, which was Never Jamar Chase taking down Trust Fund QBs. And then the biggest blowout was Team Digerian taking down Make America Great Again by 41.6 points. All right, now we're going to take a look at our standings for the end of the season, see how that takes things. Obviously, in the regular season, we'll be moving into the playoffs now, but that brings our final end of the season rankings standings to Master Rage Baiter at number 1 with 11-3 record, pretty good. Wad Squad finished 8-6 in second place. Then there was a 4-way tie for third place, basically, separated by points for. I Cook Brown Rice takes third place. Caleb Couch takes fourth. Hit the Saquon at fifth, and Make America Great Again at sixth. So that rounds out the playoff picture there. We'll dive into some of the matchups later. And then we have in seventh place Never Jamar Chase. In eighth place we have Team Digerian. Ninth place Trust Fund QBs, and 10th place we have Chef Seth. And if we take a look at the power rankings alongside our standings, this will be pretty interesting because we have number 1 who finished number 1, of course, but number 2 finished 3, number 3 finished 4, and number 4 finished 2. So this has a lot to do with the recent averages of your points. So for example, my team has been scoring a lot towards the end of the season, whereas Wallace Squad's team has fallen off a little bit, as you can see from his old streak of 4 games. So that is incorporated into his power ranking score. So I think that has a lot to do with why he has fallen in the rankings, because he was number 1 up until like week 7 or week 8 or week 9, something along those lines. So it's unfortunate to see him hit this kind of bad run of form. But hopefully things will get turned around for him in the off season, or not the off season, in the playoffs. But yeah, then we have Never Jamar Chase, who actually misses the playoffs this week or this year, but is ranked 5th in the power rankings. I guess this just has to do with his defense not performing super well, and I guess somewhat inconsistencies on the offensive side. Then we have Hit the Saquon, Make America Great Again, Trust Fund QB, Chef Seth, and Team Digerian. So like I said, this has to do with the recent form. I think Chef Seth has been putting up points lately, so that's why he has passed Team Digerian in the power rankings. Despite being the worst record and the least points scored. Oh, I'm sorry. Trust Fund QBs is actually the least points for, and that is by 1 point. So Trust Fund QBs and Chef Seth are neck and neck in points for per game, and just points for overall. If we look at on the right side, our end of regular season best offense was Master Rage Baiter, who put up a whopping 2,094 points. And then we have the best defense, who allowed a league low of 1,714.4 points. That was Trust Fund QBs. So pretty good offense, pretty good defense from both those teams. Because if you look at this, Caleb Couch went on a 6-game win streak to end the season. This is crazy because, like, I started off the season 1-6, and then I finished the season 6-1. So it all balanced out. I was catching flack in the group chat. Whole lot of trash was being talked. I was losing my mind. I was like, bro, is my team actually good? We don't even want to talk about it. I was down bad, but things flipped around. I made the playoffs. I actually secured a 4 seed despite my horrific start to the season. I was able to make the playoffs. The coldest team, though, on the contrary, is Y Squad, who unfortunately has not been able to get a win out of his last 4. Hopefully, he'll be able to turn it around. He gets a bye week to address the team, hit the weight room, hit the practice field, and get them boys back right. So now let's look at our playoff picture. We have, of course, Master Rage Bader and Y Squad, who both get a bye week. So they'll have some time to address their team and get ready for the upcoming matchup between whoever they end up matching up against. And then our first round matchups consist of Caleb's Casting Couch versus Hit the Saquon, and Make America Great Again versus I Cook Brown Rice. So these will both be some pretty interesting matchups, and I'm excited to dive into those. I actually have some comments from the managers of all 4 teams, and I look forward to implementing, or I guess seeing what changes they like to make as they prepare for the playoffs. All right, let's dive into these matchups. I'm gonna start off with the matchup between the 3 and the 6 seed, just for simplicity things. Starting off, we have Make America Great Again up against I Cook Brown Rice. This will be a really exciting game. We have, of course, some big names on both sides. I Cook Brown Rice has some really big hitters on his starting lineup, and honestly, so does Make America Great Again. It'll be really interesting to see how things shape up between these two and how they'll strategize. But starting off, I reached out to the manager of Brown Rice, had a couple questions for him. So asked him basically about Mahomes and how he's been playing at a pretty elite level lately, and how much does his weekly ceiling shape the confidence you bring into every playoff matchup. His response was, "It's a blessing and a curse. Mahomes up until 3 weeks ago was QB1 by a large margin. Since he's consistent and historically healthy, it allowed me to leave my second QB off my bench, and I prioritize waiver wire pickups like Monunga, Vidal, DK, and Strange, and those have all been really good waiver wire pickups for him that he's been able to flip, honestly, like Vidal." Next, I asked him about his receiving core, because he does have a pretty strong receiving core, if you ask anybody. But I said, your receiving core mixes elite volume in Amon-Ra, breakout talent in Brian Thomas Jr., and a touchdown upside in Rashee Rice. I said, who do you think is the true X factor out of that group for your playoff run? He said, it's hard to say the true X factor of the team. BTJ has definitely struggled this year, and I just received him in a trade involving more waiver wire pickups. I know his performance will pick back up, whether that's in Jacksonville or his next destination. Rashee was another great fleece at the beginning of the season, who has been nothing short of great for me. He has true breakout potential, giving me 20 plus in 4 out of 7 games he's played, but giving me sub 10 in 2 out of 7. On the contrary, Amon-Ra, outside of his injury 2 weeks ago, has given me the most consistent performance day in and day out. I'd say he's in the best position to succeed due to the weapons on his team as well. Gibbs and Waymo free up so much space, which explains his high target share. Amon-Ra truly has been the most consistent week-to-week target for me. Ladd has also been pretty good at some points, but his O-line situation makes the passing game lacking. So it seems like he's going to be leaning on Amon-Ra, who has really put up a strong performance throughout the whole season. He's projected 22 points, and that's pretty awesome. But if you look at, for example, his running backs here, he has James Cook, who's going up against the number 3 defense against running backs. So he may or may not be able to overcome that defense. And then Patrick Mahomes also going up against the Chargers, who has a pretty good defense pretty good pass defense. So we'll see how he's able to navigate some of these difficult matchups that he has going on. Another quick question I asked him was about Brandon Aubrey. I said he's been a cheat code at kicker. How much does having a 12 to 20 point kicker impact your weekly strategy? He said, Brandon Aubrey is truly one of a kind. Any coach would die to have someone like that on their team. It has definitely enabled me to be more aggressive with my starting lineups, knowing he will offset any difficulties my team might have in heavier matchups. So basically, he's able to play somebody with a lower floor that could have a higher ceiling so that a higher ceiling so that he can not worry about that because he has a Brandon Aubrey. So good for him in that manner. I also reached out to Make America Great Again's manager, Bernard Turner, with a couple quick questions in regards to his team. First question was, your bench running backs, Kamara, Pacheco, and even Slayton, all flex plays levels, give you more depth than most playoff teams. How do you choose between safety and upside when setting your RB2 and flex spot? In response, Bernard said, Kamara, Pacheco, and Slayton are all really good players for us. They all do their jobs really well, and I have faith they will perform when called on. So that's what you love to hear from a coach, just trusting his players, knowing they'll get the job done. Next, I said Jalen Hurts had a rare down week. How much faith do you have in him bouncing back as the cornerstone of your playoff run? Bernard said, Jalen, I have an immense amount of faith in him. Football is about getting right back up when you get knocked down. And I know he'll be doing just that next week. So love to hear it. Once again, faith in his team. Next, I asked, George Pickens has been trending upward. What gives you confidence he can deliver consistent playoff production? GP is another one. When we get him going, we're a better team, and that's just what we plan to do. So it looks like they're planning to get GP the ball early and let him do his thing. So you'd love to hear it. You'd love to see the confidence that Bernard has in his team. Next, we'll dive into the 4 seed versus the 5 seed. Pretty good matchup here. Hit the Saquon's going to be traveling up to Kale's Casting Couch home turf. And we have also some questions from we also have some questions that I asked Hit the Saquon's manager, Quentin James, and he responded back to us, of course. First question was, with CJ Stroud on your bench and Jordan Love starting, how are you deciding which quarterback gives you the safer playoff floor? And does matchup or ceiling weigh more for you right now? In response, Quentin James said, I'm considering the form of the offense as a whole when it comes to comparing the floor of my two QBs. I believe that good play calling and chemistry with your weapons, as well as a good run game, can lift the floor of the QB in fantasy just as much as it does in a real game. I'm not looking to my quarterback to win me a fantasy matchup, so anything they give me above projection is an added bonus. With that being said, their matchup matters more to me than the ceiling. So he's going to be looking at who can possibly have a better game matchup going into the next week. See, we have Jordan Love, who's playing up against a number 10 defense in Denver, who's been pretty good all season. So maybe he will or will not start them, and we'll see how that goes. Next, I asked him about Puka Nacua. Puka Nacua's 37-point explosion anchors your team, but your wide receiver 2 slot has been unpredictable all year. Do you feel confident rolling Terry McLaurin, or are you tempted to pivot to Khalil Shakir or Jordan Addison for a higher ceiling? In response, he said, that's my biggest question right now, in my opinion. I feel like Wan'Dale and Puka are locks for the rest of the year, assuming they remain healthy. Addison would be a front runner if it wasn't for the Vikings QB situation. So it's really between McLaurin and Shakir. It'll be a game time decision, but I have McLaurin starting as of right now. So it looks like he's going to be leaning on the veteran and Terry McLaurin, at least as of right now, but we'll see how things shape up as game time comes closer. Next, I asked him, looking at your matchup this week, which player on your roster do you think has the biggest chance to overperform projections and steal you the win? His response was, I think that Travis Etienne has found great form recently in the Jags offense. Since he played such a pivotal role in their win against the Colts last week, I don't see him changing much about his usage. I'd say a 13-point projection is something he could cover fairly easily and hopefully overperform. So that's exciting to see that another coach has faith in his team. He knows that his players are somewhat slept on, and not in his eyes, he's believing in his players. So exciting to see that. And of course, it's only right if I also take a turn in the hot seat and propose myself some questions as well. So starting off, question number 1, with Bo Nix, Caleb Williams, and Brock Purdy all playable, how are you deciding which quarterback gives you the best playoff advantage week to week? For me, my main focus is matchups. I think that all three of my quarterbacks are fairly similar in talent level. I think that Brock Purdy has a higher floor than Caleb Williams and Bo Nix, but I think Bo Nix and Caleb Williams also have a higher ceiling than Brock Purdy. So this week, I think playoffs is about just trusting your players to do what they've been doing all season, and knowing about their matchups, who's going to be going up against who, and how that defense has trended throughout the season. So for me, my main thing is going to be looking at matchups. Next, I asked about Trey McBride. Trey McBride has become a focal point of Arizona's offense. Do you view him as your weekly mismatch creator heading into the playoffs? Yes, I do. I think that Trey McBride has been tied in one or two for the past, I think like 5 out of the past 8 weeks. So he has been performing at an extremely high level, basically like having another top tier wide receiver on my team. So I think that's been a great reason. Him getting going is a great reason why I've been able to go on a win streak that I have been going on lately. So I definitely view him as a mismatch, and I'm excited to roll him out each week going into the playoffs. Lastly, my last question to myself is, how does the uncertainty around CeeDee Lamb and Drake London impact your playoff game plan, especially when your wide receiver group is normally the engine of your roster? CeeDee Lamb and Drake London are both huge focal points in my roster. So them both being on IR this week is extremely challenging. But we've employed a next man up strategy, and we are always going to rely on the next man. We have some good value in Michael Wilson and Jakobi Meyers, who have been stepping up into an elevated role with some new situations and new injuries on their teams. So I'll be looking to lean on them as we go into this playoff week. All right, that does it for my interview segment. We will now be diving into some of the injuries that have happened over the past week. So I'll be looking at a quick little injury report. We'll be discussing all of that, and we'll move on from there. All right, now diving into the injury report, we have quarterback Daniel Jones, who suffered an Achilles injury, and the Colts lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars. It looks like it's going to be a season-ending injury. Of course, hopefully not for the Colts' sake, because he's kind of one of the main drivers in the offense, outside of course, Jonathan Taylor. But yeah, it looks like it's going to be season-ending. I don't see why it wouldn't be season-ending considering this point in the season. Geno Smith left the Raiders loss with an early right shoulder injury. And then Tyrod Taylor left in the first quarter. So these are some non-names. I don't think either of those are on any fantasy teams at all, basically. So disregard those. Jaden Daniels, first game back from injury, goes out with another injury. So I'm not sure what's going on there. I don't know why they would play him. Mariota seemed like he was doing a fine job, but of course, we'll see how things go. At running back, Keaton Mitchell left early with a knee injury. Achane left early with a rib injury. But what I heard is that basically he left early, and if they needed him to play, he would have played. But they didn't need him to, so they would just rather err on the side of being safe. So makes sense there. Then we have Malachi Corley, suffered a concussion in the loss to the Titans. Also, CeeDee Lamb suffered a concussion last week. So he may or may not be back this week. I would love for him to be, but if he's not, then that probably boosts George Pickens, as he'll be the number 1 wide receiver. And then at tight end, we have a couple injuries, but starting off with Ian Thomas, suffered a calf injury against the Broncos. Darnell Washington also suffered a concussion in the win over the Ravens. Elijah Arroyo, it looks like he suffered a knee injury in the first half of the Seahawks win. And then Zach Ertz, who suffered a pretty gruesome injury. If you've seen the video, it's not a good watch. Looks like they said he tore his ACL, so that definitely ends his season. And he is someone who's pretty old, so I wonder if this will be his final game in the league. But yeah, that'll be crazy to see. All right, that pretty much sums up this week's recap. That's our end of season recap. Now we'll be diving into the playoffs, the toilet bowl, things like that. I hope to have some more interviews coming up next week after these matchups happen, and I look forward to hearing what y'all have to say in the comments. Please check out the website. It's brfantasy.onrender.com. I'll have that linked in the description so that you can go check it out. All you need is a sleeper league ID, and it'll generate all the data for you. If you run into problems, let me know. I'll try and help you get those sorted out. But yeah, that's pretty much it, and I'm excited to see y'all next week with another video. Peace.